Lin Decode number 16, linking all the train lines in Melbourne train system. My thoughts. Now on the previous decode number 15, I've talked about what is the attributes or values that you see to find a potential right one to get married or settle down with. I've talked about what are the aspects from different philosophy, different point of views or mentors or people up there who already engage in marriages and what is their advices and things like that, and on how to find a new one. Today is just the 28th on August 2018. The government of Premier of Melbourne has announced a 50 billion possible future Melbourne train. That is today's decode number 16. It talks about how linking all of them together, and boy, all I can say, this is going to be a 15 billion underground going surrounded everything. As you can see on the map or on your screen right now, that is what I'm talking about. As you can see, the ones with the red line going across around the circle of the whole map. As you can see clearly, those who are, they haven't got a train system to go to Melbourne Airport, and therefore they wanted to establish all the lines all together, connecting together, instead of, as you can see in the center, in the middle, the circle, that's the city circle. For anyone who lives in west, south, north, east, west, whatever you guys name it, you have to go through the centre Melbourne to get, to interchange from a different, side of Melbourne. So, which I find it pretty great, creating a circle of ring of pretty much getting the train, going to every single, train lines of Melbourne. And the next map that I'm going to show you is the current map system in Melbourne train station. And as you can see, everything, you kind of understand what I'm talking about, north, east, west, south. It's hard to get by as you go through City Loop Centre in the middle. So, which I find it, very, very inconvenient. If I'm going to see my mother out in the east, where I'm living up the north, I pretty much have to spend an hour and 40 minutes just to get to see my mother. Now, if I go to drive, it probably takes me 1 hour or something around there. But, trains not always is like that. So the next map I'm showing to you right now is Sydney. The Sydney, as you can see right now, as you can see far on your right screen, as you can see there's a circle. That's where you can see Central. That's where the city is. And the good thing about Sydney is you can pretty much go, if you want to go from west to south, you don't have to go through the city. If you want to go to north or south or east or whatever you guys want to go, you don't always necessarily have to go to the city. You can always go with the middle point, and it's always interchange in the middle. So I find this is like the system, which is great. I'm not saying it's the best. I find this structure is a lot better. But let's look back on the map. I find the map is a lot more common sense and it's costly. It's just building one huge circle, surrounded all the lanes, but also spending more money. But it's a lot more efficient, because if you look at before the Sydney one, it was scattered everywhere. And it's to the point, it's just, sometimes it's very difficult to know where to transition or things like that. And there's too much, transition, intersection, to change from A to B, C to C, and things like that. But as you clearly see, Melbourne one is very common sense. All you need to do is just know which station that you need to stop in, and you just wait, and you go through the loop. That's it. And I know, like, in China and Hong Kong is a bit different. You have to go through, what the Sydney Metro is like. You pretty much have to interchange left, right, and centre if you want to go through this lane or that lane or things like that. Which they call it MTR in Hong Kong. So that's my view. I find this a very great thing. They say if Labour gets in next election, so this will pass through and it will be completed by 2050. I find this is a lot more convenient, as they just passed through the budget for Melbourne Airport, but at the same time they need to find money to, well, right now they're going through a major construction of crossing removal and things like that, so it's very difficult right now at the moment. So now this on board may postpone more of the train infrastructure, even though they're trying to do changes right now. So I don't know how these things will go, but it's a very, very great plan. But it's one of the most expensive plan, 50 billion, but it's worth it. I think it will sustain a lot better than the Sydney one, a lot more.